Welcome everyone to another video. Today we're going to be looking at the NCAA Power Index, NPI, and some of the various metrics around it that I use to inform me on how teams are doing and where they're going. So NPI, quick refresher, is the ranking system that the NCAA will use to select at-large teams into the NCAA tournament and then seed them in the tournament 1 to 64. That does not mean that there will be perfect bracketing, but we do know the order of teams once they make the NCAA tournament, and we will know who the top 4, top 8 seeds are. So this is my website, the d3statlab.com. I'm on the NPI page, and I've got a variety of statistics here alongside NPI that help me understand how teams are doing. A couple features of the website. Right off the bat here, you can search for a team. And it'll filter down to any team with that search term. You can also go to a conference. So if you're interested in the NESCAC, you can get a quick picture of the NESCAC. Go back to all conferences to undo. And then every column here is sortable. You just tap on it once and twice to go between ascending and descending. I'll refresh the page to reset the initial order, which is current NPI through yesterday's results. All right, so how do I look at this? We've got the NPI value, and then we've got the NPI rank over here. And I keep the old value, so the 1 day prior and the 1 day prior rank, because it helps me see how much teams are moving. So let's go to this value difference. So this would be how these teams' NPI changed between Friday, end of day Friday, and end of day Saturday, or morning of Saturday, morning of Sunday. Same difference. So we can see here Meredith, William Smith, and Juniata all got their first wins, and that will cause a team's value to jump upwards by quite a bit. But for all these other teams, they just got normal wins. Most likely the team that they beat is better than almost any other team that they've beaten so far this year. But it kind of gives me an idea. You can look here. Dickinson's the key one. They moved from 62nd to 35th, which is a pretty big move. They beat Elizabethtown. St. Scholastica went from 66th to 41. They beat previously undefeated Cal Lutheran. Both of those are big, big wins. Moving up 25 spots when you're already in the top 70 is a big, big move. But then you can go to the flip side. So like Cal Lutheran lost their first game. That can also bring down a team quite a bit. They dropped 24 spots from 27th to 51st. Elizabethtown down 9 spots from 7th to 16th. So this just kind of gives me an idea. Each day I'll look at this and see how much teams are moving, both in value and in rank. And as time goes on, as we have fewer and fewer undefeated and winless teams, these value numbers are going to change by smaller amounts every single day. But it's helpful to sort. You can see our number one in NPI right now is a 61.676, and our last team is a 26.663. Just kind of get a feel for the numbers and the range of them. Now, I've got a sticky first column here, so I'm going to scroll to the right. We'll still see the team, but now we get to bid type. I'm going to scroll. Well, I'll just leave bid type at the far right there. So this is based on my season simulations, what the bid type is. So if you have an A, you're going to be formatted in green. If you have a C that gets you into the NCAA tournament, you're going to be formatted in blue. If you have a C that is not in the tournament, but in the next 15 teams, you're going to be in orange. And then if you're not in the top, what is that, 36 or 35 in Pool C, you don't get any formatting. So as of my season simulations, I have Brandeis finishing 52nd among teams that need an at-large bid. That can, of course, change if they turn games where they have a win probability of less than 1. If they turn that into a win, they will rise in that. So that's, bid type. You can also sort bid type. You can sort it by A, and then it'll sort by these, and you can see the order of the C teams. There's the rest of them. And then looks like C80 is where all the teams at C80 they do not get an at-large bid at any point in my simulations. So they're all just going to be tied there at C80. So qual games. Oh, and then if you scroll to the very, very bottom, there's going to be a legend. So you can see that qual means qualifying. It doesn't mean quality, but I had to limit horizontal space. So number of qualifying games included in NPI. So for Scranton, well, for everyone, it's going to be close to all their games. Qualifying wins. I do not have qualifying losses, but you can see it would be the difference between the two. And the reason that there are qualifying games, not every game, is that NPI has two principles, which is they don't want a win against a bad team to bring down your NPI. But rather than just have that be a clear rule over every single game, which would mean that every team is only ranked by their best win, NPI says, hey, we want to see your body of work, and so we want to know your 15 best wins. And then if you have 15 wins, when you get that 16th, we'll say, hey, if your 16th best win would bring down your NPI, which it almost always will, then you don't have to count it. So these teams are kind of looking to get to that 16th win, and then they will get to start dropping any wins that don't improve their NPI that are not in their 15 best wins. Similarly, for losses, we can go to a team at the bottom here, Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts. We can go to current season rankings. I realize I need to change this. That's actually current season results. That's not a good one. Let's just go to Massey. 1 second. So we'll go to Massey. We'll find. Looks like they're about 0-6. We can just do a quick check. Yep, these are all D3 opponents because that's all NPI is going to look at. But they only have one qualifying game. Because they have 0 qualifying wins, we can see that one qualifying game is a loss. And what NPI is doing is saying, hey, you can't improve your NPI by losing additional games. And so for Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts, they're only defined right now, their NPI, by their worst loss. Now, if they were to win a game, that brings their NPI up quite a bit, and then additional losses might be evaluated because those losses might not then bring down their NPI once the win is factored in. So you only get to drop a loss if it would improve your NPI. So some people say, hey, I can just schedule a really good team, lose to them, and it's not going to hurt me much. Well, a loss is never going to improve your NPI, and you're giving up the opportunity cost of playing a game and getting a result that can't help your NPI. And I think last year, no team in the top 125 of NPI had a dropped loss. So there's really no dropping loss. There is not a dropped loss among any team getting an at-large bid or any team on the bubble for an at-large bid. But that's kind of what I'm getting to with qualifying games and qualifying wins. We can see Hope actually has 11. Let's look at wins. Scranton, Hope, William Patterson, Christopher Newport, and I'm sure others have 10 qualifying wins. So they're counting down the numbers until they get to number 16, and some fun things happen there. QWB is quality win bonus. This is always dynamic as teams change, but this is the sum of the individual game quality win bonuses of all the teams. So you can see Ohio Wesleyan has 11.5. Calvin has 9.6 because Calvin has beat Whitewater, and they have another very impressive win that is escaping me. Ohio Wesleyan. So they beat Ohio Wesleyan and Whitewater. That's a big reason that Calvin is still very high on my ballot, even though they already have 4 losses. The upside potential is there. So this kind of, you can see which teams are accruing a lot of quality win bonus. This is also a function of opportunity. So a team like NYU has 1.7 quality win bonus, but that's not because they haven't beaten good teams and faced them. They just haven't faced good teams. So they have a low quality win bonus value. All right, so then what else we got here? So lowest counting win. This is a fun one. So I'm going to refresh the page to reset to our NPI value order. Lowest counting win. This goes hand in hand with that once you get to 16 wins, you can drop one that hurts you. We can see which teams are counting a win that's really hurting them. So you can see John Carroll, their worst counting win is giving them 59.8 NPI from that. Actually, this is a little counterintuitive. This is the opponent's NPI of their worst win. So you can see this was a very good team, was their worst win. So when John Carroll gets to their 16th win, they might not get a huge bump upwards because their body of wins is already very strong. We go to Oshkosh here. Their worst win is against a team with a 43.96 NPI. So Oshkosh will likely take quite a big jump upwards when they're able to eliminate this win. And so this just kind of gives you an idea as teams get that 16th win, how much are they going to be helped? And then once they get that 16th win, like let's take Oshkosh, this is going to fall off. It will not be counting anymore. And so this will be replaced by a new value because when they get their 17th win, they can now drop their now lowest in the overall scheme of things, their second lowest counting win. So these numbers will keep getting updated with every team's result, and that will keep giving you an idea what sort of upward mobility teams have with their next win. Paired with that is next game win NPI. So this is the total game NPI, not just your opponent's NPI, if you went out and won it. So we can see 51, that's a really low number for a win. Scranton must not be playing someone very good. But look down here, Washington and Lee, actually right now, it has gone final against Carroll. They can get 71.35 for that win. And since their current MPI is 59, they're going to move upwards quite a bit. So 71, they've played 9 games. So 9 times 59.622 plus that 71.3 divided by their new divisor of 10 will be Washington and Lee's next NPI value. Along with some minor changes from shifts across the country. So next game win NPI just gives you like who's their opponent and is it a strong one. So Hope has a pretty strong one coming up. Smith, Whitewater, Denison kind of have lighter opponents. Carroll, that one turned out to be a loss. So they did not get 71.45 out of it. They got 51.45 out of it. And then this is the potential increase from that next win. So Washington Lee will go up about 1.17. This is a really simple calculation. It's just doing that math that I did. 9 qualifying results times this plus if they get that win divided by the new number of qualifying results will be this increase. There will be other changes to the number, but this, again, quick and dirty idea of how you will increase. And then I just said if it would bring it down, I capped this on the downside at 0. But in reality, take Scranton, 61.6 NPI value, do not yet have 15 qualifying wins. So their next game will actually bring down their overall NPI. So I tried to label this meaningfully potential increase. I'm not talking about a potential decrease. That's not the point of this column. Otherwise, I'd call it a potential change or potential delta column. So then there's next game loss NPI. If they were to lose it, it's just this minus 20. That's the only difference between a win and a loss because in women's basketball, the win portion of the weight is 20%. Strength of schedule is 80%. And remember, 20% and 80% does not mean that the strength of your opponent is 4 times as important. Because of the difference in distribution of strength of schedule numbers versus winning percentage numbers, if we wanted those to have an equal weighting, it would have to be about 14% and 86%. And so it's 20 and 80 right now. And then the last column here, and I think this is a great one, is remaining games against teams whose NPI is under 50. You can view this 2 ways. So let's take Scranton. They're the top team. So they have 8 remaining games against teams with an NPI under 50. They're probably going to win all those, but winning those games is not going to bring big benefits to their NPI. You can see their lowest counting win is 54, so they're just going to be adding on wins that are actually lower than their currently lowest counting win. A team like Whitewater, only one game left against a team with an NPI under 50. So they might take some losses, but when they do get wins, they're going to be worth a lot. So this column is a contextual column with what you think about the team's abilities will give you an idea of where they're headed. So take a team like William Patterson. They have a lot of games remaining against some pretty weak teams. Meaning, if William Patterson loses, especially to any of these 11, but even to any of their other opponents not included in this number, if they lose, it'll drop their NPI down a good bit, and then they'll have a very limited ability to pull it up via winning because their opponents are so weak. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. If you have a lot of difficult games left, you're probably going to lose more of them, but then the ones that you do win are going to bring you back up. So it kind of means your range of where you can go in NPI is pretty wide, whereas William Patterson likely has a really small range of where they can end up. Ripon, pretty weak opponent set left. Chicago, 0 games left, same as Emory. 0 games left against a team under 50 NPI. So let's take a team on the bubble. So what would be a team on the bubble? All right, so we've got, let's look at Dickinson. They're on the bubble here, but really close. So they are in the thick of things. We don't want you. So let's look at Dickinson. Dickinson currently 35th in MPI after their big win over Elizabethtown. Just barely out of that top 21 in C. They are 7-4 at the moment. Their lowest counting win is pretty good. They're playing a strong team coming up next, which can raise their NPI by 0.66, so from 57.0 to 57.60 or 57.61. Loss would hurt them quite a bit. And they have only 3 games against weaker teams. And so Dickinson, although this kind of feels like Dickinson's in a pretty good spot, they do have a little bit limited upward mobility because their lowest counting win is already pretty strong. But then they have lots of opportunities to raise their NPI. So that is kind of a rough idea of how I like to break down. Let's just take a look at a whole conference. So right now, the WIAC has 3 teams in the Pool C in the tournament right now, with 2 close by, and these 2 are really not that far off either. Their lowest counting win kind of varies across the board. Oshkosh and Stout and Stevens Point all have the ability to jump up quite a bit once they eliminate that lowest counting win. Also, Platteville. And then remaining games, they all range from 0 to 2. That's all they have left with remaining games under 50 NPI, and that probably is all non-conference games for them all. Let's look at the SCIAC. So they currently have 3 teams in the tournament. For some reason here, Redlands is coming up with their winning the conference tournament most often. So they're kind of 3 teams are in that NCAA tournament picture. Not a whole lot of QWB for the teams. Their lowest counting wins are pretty low, so they will get benefits when they get to eliminate those. And then Redlands has a pretty easy schedule remaining, which again is a two-edged sword. It's easier to win all those games, and there are other games as well, but a loss really hurts them because their schedule does not afford them the ability to pull themselves back up. CMS and Kalu are a little bit more moderate. So that's the NPI. I'm also going to show you a cool feature that I built, which is called a Command K menu. So if you hit Command K or Control K for Windows users, you get this little quick actions thing where you can go navigate to season simulations with your keyboard. You can just hit a number and it'll navigate you there. Or my favorite is search team. So if you hit enter here, you get to search for your team. Let's search for Susquehanna. So we've got a search going on. You can hit enter. And then you get a whole summary of the team that you just searched for. So you can see their bid type pulsed, green because they are currently in the NCAA tournament in my simulated field of 64. And then we can just see NPI rank, NPI value, qualifying wins, losses, QWB, lowest counting win, remaining games under 50 NPI, but then also their season simulations, tournament percentage, auto bid, at large, median wins, median losses, median NPI value, their current season results model, current rank. This is the sum of their results. Just kind of trying to give a value to each result. They actually haven't beaten anyone in the top 50 of Massey. They have one loss against a team outside of the top 30 of Massey. And the average team that they've beaten is ranked 229th in Massey. Composite rankings, so their rank in the composite, their median rank, their Massey rank, their efficiency rank, preseason rankings, returning minutes, and publishing status. Those things would have been more useful in the preseason as we were leading up to the year. But that's a cool way to access one team. You hit escape to get out of it, escape to get out of it again if you want to do that. Or we can search for Redlands, so they're in with an A. We can hit escape, search for Johnson and Wales. They're in with an A. We can search for Widener. They're in with an A. We can search for Otterbein. You can see they're orange because they are not in at the moment, but they are real close. So this is just a cool feature. I will use this if I just want to get a really quick summary of a team as I'm tooling around the website. You know, I might be looking at the conference rankings. I can see maybe I'm surprised that the NCAC is number 2. And so I want to go to season simulations. I want to filter by the NCAC, see these numbers here. And then, I'm seeing some interesting numbers for DePauw. Let's go look at DePauw and see. Oh, they're in with a C. Top 50 win. Pretty consistent rankings across the board. And that's just a way that I get familiar with teams. So hit me up with any questions or comments that you have on my NPI breakdown and how I use each of the columns. And thanks for tuning in.